Okay, good. So we recorded. So in Land 1 class, we talked about how to create a Microsoft Learn account with the Microsoft.com/S2B URL. Also in Land 1, we searched Google for a free Azure account, and you probably have already got that. So we did a Microsoft Azure student account. So we searched for those keywords, and it takes you to get a free Azure student account. I believe most of you have gotten this from Land 1 class, but if not, you have to Google it. You go to Azure and try to create an account. They hide it from you. There's not really any good, easy way to find it going through Microsoft, but Googling it, Google finds stuff that's hidden, and it'll say Azure for students. This account gives you $100 credits, 12 months of free Azure access, and it also gives you access to free virtual machines. They're also hard to find, but we'll find them after we get into the portal. The account that they try to push is a $200 account that you get for a month instead of 12-month access. So you want this one. And it'll say your $100 credit, it'll say students, and it will not require a credit card. It will require a phone. You have to have a phone, and you have to use the OR texting or whatever that code is for security, a two-factor verification. You're using your phone number to verify you're in the United States, and you're not one of the, like Iran or somebody like that, creating virtual machines that are sanctioned. That's why the phone number is required, because Iran have been hacking university libraries and all kind of stuff. That's part of security. So they're using the phone number to help verify your physical location. So if you've not created it, go and activate that now. You'll activate it with your email address, your student email address at asub.edu, because they communicate with the Office 365 and already know, since we're with Office 365 or university or emails through the university, they can know that you're a student account. It's valid. So log into your account, which most of you should have already. Who's needing to create one? Looks like a couple people may be needing to create one. So I'm gonna click on Portal, and I'm going to go to the portal of my Azure. I've already got one virtual machine out there from a prior class that I'm still running, so I'll create a new one, but yours will be blank over here at this side. So my portal looks like this. Yours may be white. I've changed mine to dark theme, because you can theme it under settings. The cogwheel is for settings, so you can choose a theme, and I've chosen a dark theme on mine. You're probably on Azure and it's blue and white, but if you want to hit the cogwheel and theme it to make it look like mine, you can. And I'm on a dashboard. I don't know. I see several people still logging into the thing, but are creating the account, but I'm on a dashboard. I think you hit the little hamburger is what they call this. A lot of IT people, because they think bun, meat, bun, 3 lines, and call it the hamburger. So there should be a dashboard that you should be on too, instead versus home. At least for the second, because that's what I'm on. I'm not sure where I'm going to navigate to next. I'll probably go back to home in a second, but I'm on the dashboard and got it themed, and we're doing that while we're waiting for everybody else to log in. So I've resumed recording. Everybody's at dashboard, and this is Microsoft Cloud, so basically Hyper-V in the cloud. There's a lot more stuff you can do with the Azure network than just creating virtual machines. You can create container objects, you can push out other type of cloud applications without having to connect it to a virtual machine and run something separately. But for security stuff, we're going to create a Linux virtual machine. So to find that, I believe I'm going to go back up here to the little hamburger option, and I believe I'll go down to, if I remember correctly, all resources. That's probably wrong, but I'm going to click on all resources. So I've got to this point. Yours will be blank. You won't have a virtual machine or network or any of this stuff. What you'll probably, let me look real quick. Don't click add yet. Just let me look what add gives me. So I'm going to pause the video and find where this thing is at. Okay, so the free virtual machine, they tried to hide it. There's a lot of steps to find it. So to find the free virtual machine, you hit the little hamburger and go to Home. On the home page, you have to go to the right side where my mouse is, and there's More Services. So click on More Services. You would think virtual machines, but no. More Services. So now this comes up and shows you a bunch of services that you could do, and you're looking up here to add something, but no. You go down to the bottom and you'll see a gray box in the bottom center that says Free Offerings. And you got to check out Free Services. So click on that part. When Free Services come up, you get this screen. So this is quite hidden. It takes a lot of Googling or, watching somebody else to find this. So I'm going to have this videoed, and I'm going to put it in the week 9 folder probably for this class. I may even have to add it to LAN class for them too. I'm going to pause and check, make sure everybody's got there. Okay, so I think everybody has found the free offerings. So there's like 5 gig of storage, there's databases you can get, a whole bunch of stuff here that's free offerings. What we're looking for this class for security, most systems now are Linux based, especially if they're doing any type of web hosting or web app that people are connecting to. That's what we're going to focus on. Over 50% of the VMs on Microsoft's cloud is running Linux, not Windows. So you see this 750-hour free Linux machine, right? There's the maximum hours in the longest month of the year is 744 hours. So they give you more hours than there are possible in a month free. So you don't ever have to shut the machine down. Just to be sure. They have even number. I mean, 744 would just look odd up there probably. They just put 750. In case there's leap seconds and stuff added into the time thing, and for some reason 1 month gets to be 744 hours and 3 seconds, it might charge you some money for those 3 seconds. So they put it over so it never charge money on the free offering. So I'm going to click Create on, everybody find it? It's the second block there, Linux Virtual Machine. Go ahead and click Create. So this will come up. We have Basic. We're creating a virtual machine that runs Linux or Windows. We selected the Linux Create, so we should probably make sure we select Linux. This here has 1 gig of RAM and 1 CPU, so it's quite lightweight. You wouldn't want to deploy a Windows machine out unless you just wanted to look at the Windows desktop and maybe Notepad. Calculator, I think, works, but Internet Explorer won't. There's not enough RAM to run it. If you try to connect to a web page anyway, I think you can start it without, as long as you disconnect the internet. So this free offering, we're Azure for Students, should be selected. A resource group, you probably don't have a resource group. Anybody have a resource group created? Blank. So what you would do is click Create a New Resource Group. This basically tags certain network settings and hard drive storage and stuff all into a group for the virtual machine itself. So we've got to create a new resource group, and we'll name this Let's name the resource group, say Linux. Can I use dashes? I can. I don't think I want to use dashes though. I like to use underscore. Linux underscore security. So that's for this class. We got a Linux security resource group. I'm going to click on OK. The virtual machine name. It can't be changed after it's created. So what do we want to name it?
Linux underscore name.
What about S1? Maybe. Server 1. I'm really creative here with my computer name. I would try to probably create the name less than 15 characters long, just to stay with old school compatibility purposes and stuff. The region, where are we at? You'd want to run your machine in the region that is closest to where your customers are going to be accessing it at. So we're going to be accessing it from the central region, but if you're creating a web server and most people on California or the East Coast are going to be using your web server, you might pick some other place. But we'll go ahead and pick central. And if you got a paid version, you can deploy these out at any data center around the world. You may even deploy some like a load balanced web server in different regions across the world if it's a global website. The image, and put this up here as Red Hat Enterprise, but that requires normally a license to get patches and stuff for us. So we would get the Red Hat Enterprise Linux VM, but then we'd have to go in there and type in a command line and put our serial key, our management key from Red Hat in there for it to work. So we're not going to use that. What's the copy of Red Hat? CentOS. So these three up here, you think, oh, that looks cool. These here are designed for something called Docker and to run containers. And you have not played with Docker and containers, and they're really hard to deal with security on that image. So I wouldn't mess with if you're, you can create more at home later. You can run these VMs like Ubuntu server and stuff later on if you want to, but I would avoid these. They're difficult to deal with. So I'm going to scroll down and we have the CentOS. Some of these here are for different licensing stuff out there, so I'm just going to pick the generic one, the CentOS 7.3. I talked with somebody at the Tech After 5 that's doing a bunch of research, and they use Google Cloud instead of Microsoft Azure Cloud because they always have their images up to date. 7.3 is a couple years old. There's going to be a lot of patches after we deploy it. And they didn't want to deploy, they're deploying hundreds of machines and using the computing power off of them, so they didn't want to deploy a bunch of old machines and then have to spend all the time updating every one of them. So that's why they use Google Cloud, because their templates are quick. So picking CentOS base 7.3 is the best. If you're at home and want to play with another one, probably I don't know which Debian you'd probably have to research. You'd Google the options before you pick them. I know if you Google these, they talk about Docker, container only. What is this spot instance? If they have any excessive capacity, you can utilize it, it says, with a cheaper price or something. I'm going to click no. size. And this right here is our free. That should have been the free one. 1 CPU, 1 gigs is $9.13 monthly, but that should be the free. Should be the free offering. So this one is saying that it's $9.13 a month, but we're using the free offering, so you can ignore this price out here. Now, we come into security. You can create an administrator account and either use password authentication, which is weak, or you can use an SSH public key, which is stronger. And there's a link here. Learn more about creating and using an SSH keys in Azure. So the best method would probably be to right-click and open this in a new tab to learn more about creating and using an SSH key in Azure. The username will be an administrator username, not root. You can't use root. Root is locked out for security purposes. So the username has to be something new and unique. So we opened up that link. It opened up in a new tab. Quick steps. Create and use an SSH public-private key pair for Linux VMs in Azure. Neat. So we got step by step. We can probably even copy and paste some of the commands in here. So as we scroll down, it says we need to generate a key pair using either a bash, Azure bash shell, or an Azure command line interface. One of them is using a PowerShell style create, and the other one's using a bash style create. I like the bash style create because I don't think you can see everything if you try to get the Azure CLI. So on this screen, we're using it with a 4096 key. So we're in security. So Azure currently is supporting SSH Protocol 2 and RSA public-private key pairs with a minimum length of 2048 bits. There's other formats such as elliptic curve cryptography. Those are new and they are quantum computing resistant. I mean, they were designed so that a quantum computer couldn't break them. RSA was designed in the 70s. It wasn't designed for the thought of quantum computing back then. So quantum computing is scheduled to possibly be able to break RSA sometime past 2030. So I'm a little bit disappointed in their security that they've not upgraded to allow elliptic curve cryptography protocols. But those two protocols there are the latest and greatest to try to prevent future hacks. You're supposed to use those if you're going to do anything past 2030. A key length of 2048 is supposed to protect you up until 2030. Past that point, you would want to use a 3072 key if you're going to have anything running past 2030 for authentication. A lot of servers now are for 10 years running time. And guess what's in 10 years? It's already past January 1st, 2030. So we should probably use a 3072 key for security, but they're recommending a 4096. I don't want to do a 4096, and we will show you why at some point in time. I don't know if I'm going to get there before spring break. We probably will. We're going to do some speed tests on key sizes from 512 up to 4096 and show you why you probably don't want to do. Although 4096 Yeah, let's do 4096, why not? Because we're only using that for SSH, we're not using that for web pages. You wouldn't want to use 4096 for web pages, speed-wise. You'd DOS stack your own self. So let's scroll down and let's copy this key. So 4096 is massive. There should be a green checkbox when you click copy. I have already created one on mine, so I'm going to use Corey as a guinea pig here and be recording on his screen. So Corey, if you notice at the top of your screen there is a Cloud Shell icon that you can click on right next to search resource. So if you click on the Cloud Share icon, it will pop up, and I don't know if you can move your, there we go. Maybe, why is it not, what am I clicking on? Okay, never mind. Yeah, that's right. So let's make sure my recorder. So right down here in the Cloud Share, it's going to ask you, do you want a bash shell or do you want PowerShell? We want bash shell because we copied the bash one. It's the easiest one to deal with. Does everybody see that? Click bash shell. You have no storage mounted. Azure Cloud Share requires an Azure file share to persist files. So there's a create button that you can just simply click create, because it's Azure for Student already, so you get free persistent storage. Don't make any changes to that. Just click the create button. The creation process will have to generate a virtual disk out in their data center somewhere and then attach it to your account and mount it. What did we get an error? It says it's already taken. That's kind of weird. Click, I guess, show advanced settings if you got that error. Did anybody else get that error?
Yeah.
On the resource group, go ahead and click use existing. Yes, that's good. Storage accounts. Create a new storage account. So type in something unique. Maybe storage account underscore your name. Storage account's probably, that looks good. Storage account underscore Corey, storage underscore Corey, something like that. File share, maybe like share underscore Corey or something like that for your like a last name. Everybody's got different last name. You may have to add some letters or something, like a 1, 2, 3, 4 at the end, or I don't know. When you click create, see if you still get an error. Storage Corey is not a valid storage. Is it because of the underscore?
Storage count must be between 3.
And use numbers and lowercase letters only. Was it lowercase letters only?
Numbers and lowercase.
So you cannot have any uppercase letters. So take the underscore out. Change everything to lowercase. Well, underscore might work. No, it says letters and numbers. It didn't say no symbols. You have to take the underscore out, I think. So creating a unique name can be problematic. I don't see an error on your screen, so it's probably going to create it now. So once it's creating, you'll see that it's initializing your cloud share. It's got to boot up a Linux bash shell. So as you see, Corey's already got his shell out there. Has everybody got your username at Azure? Now if you I don't know if you can right click and paste. So if you right click and paste, it'll put out there the key. You see at the bottom of the screen here, it'll say SSH key gen with the 4096. If you hit enter, it'll go ahead and generate a 4096-bit key pair. And it says enter a file to which to save the key. The default file is already inside of parentheses, so don't put any spaces or anything. If you just hit enter, it'll be in a file in a hidden folder called SSH or .ssh, and the key will be an ID_RSA. It says to enter a passphrase. So the passphrase in the past, just for speed purposes, we've left the passphrase blank. That'll allow us to log in with a key and no password using putty. But you could enter a passphrase there, which means you'd have to enter a passphrase to unlock the key to read it and then pass it. That would be more secure. I guess just for our practice purposes, let's leave the passphrase blank and just hit enter. But you should really, for security, add the passphrase to it, because that'll be like a triple. You'll have to know your username, you'll have to know the passphrase to open up the certificate, and you'll have to have the certificate to get in. That adds security. This virtual machine we're going to deploy out is not going to allow anybody to log in unless that key file is passed to it. Right now the key file only resides in this cloud share, so we're going to have to download it to our local machine. But we had questions. Let me pause. So we got to get the SSH public key up there. The username, you got to create a username. So I'm going to jump back to mine and get to the prompt. So on my screen here, I'm going to enter a username here. I guess let me see what my username looks like in Cloud Share, if it's NW good or what my username is. I think you can make whatever username you want. Yep. Yeah, you can't have a dot or any, no dots, really? Let's see. Username must contain only letters, preferably lowercase letters, numbers, hyphens, and underscores. It may not start with a hyphen or a number. So I'm going to use my username that I use for my student account here. Your student account has dot in it though, and it won't take that. So whatever account name you want, just remember it. Maybe something that's maybe an account name you log in with Google or Yahoo or something that you'll remember. Or maybe just first name, last name, all lowercase without the dot. So we've got SSH public key. This is more secure than a password because you have to actually have something. You got to know the username and you have to have a file to log in with. And preferably we would have put a passphrase, so you'd have also had known the password. In your cloud shell, you're going to have to go into the hidden directory, the .ssh. So do you remember change directory command? CD space .ssh / change directory into the hidden SSH folder. Hit enter. And you should be at .ssh. You can hit pwd just to see your full path if you are interested. Okay, so I'm in the folder. I'm going to clear the screen just so it's easier for y'all to see. I can probably make my cloud share higher up on my screen. I'm going to look at the file. How do I look at files in Linux? LS. So I'm looking at the files. I've got an RSA, and I've got an RSA that ends in .pub, and it's asking up here, it's wanting the public key. So which file do you think I need to look into? Probably the one that has .pub at the end. I'm going to go and do cat for concatenate, ID, tab, put a period. I'm going to hit tab again to complete it out. When I hit enter, it should display the public key to my screen. I've never seen a 4096-bit key. It's probably quite long. So that key is quite long. I'm going to highlight that text and right click on it and copy it. So I'm going to look at the help file again. You said you got an error. If you copy and paste the contents of the public key file to the Azure portal, make sure you don't copy any trailing white space. Okay, so I made sure that the gray doesn't have any extra space at the end. It starts at the S and SSH on the top line, and it ends on, mine ends in an X. I don't know what yours ends in. I'm going to go ahead and paste that in. It's got to be the pub one.
Yeah, mine says SSH key must be encoded.
Scroll all the way to the bottom of yours and make sure, like, go to the right.
Down here?
No, but make sure there's not a space. Like arrow over. It's not. Why is there equal marks? I see the equal, but that's weird. So when you paste the key in there, we had one student with an issue. Their username portion had to be removed for it to work. But everybody else's worked, so I don't know what deal that was. So that's generating a key pair, and they do have a whole list here that tells you exactly how to do it. How to get putty to work is not on their site. That's a separate process. So we're going to allow selected ports SSH 22. Warning. Not recommended to allow SSH. Botnets try to hit that port all the time. Yes, I know. So I'm going to go ahead and click review and create. So that's the process of implementing secure logins to a cloud virtual machine. Even current Linux machines, you can set that up. Where did you create your own RSA key for your user accounts? And then that way SSH would require that for the login instead of a username password pair. So we're reviewing everything. Looks good to me. I'm going to go ahead and click create. While that's creating, let's go ahead and create the putty file. So the public key was added to the user account in creation. That means the private key is the only thing that can send encrypted data to that account for authentication. We can't use the private key to log in to the private key. That's the thing about asymmetric encryption. It requires two separate keys. So that public keys is locked to that user account. Now we've got to use the private key, which is what you have to keep secure. That's your password thing. And we've got to pass it into putty to send it up and log into our account. So on our bash shell, in our apparently I wasn't clicked in the right spot. In our bash shell, in the SSH directory that we're still in, we have two files. We have two files. There's the one that's just IDRSA. That is the one that is the private key. So I'm going to cat that one to the screen. You have a beginning and end. I'm going to copy that. Make sure that I got an extra space. Do you see that? Right there. I'm going to have to recopy it so I don't get that extra space. So I've got that highlighted. I'm going to go ahead and copy that, and I'm going to open up Notepad. And I'm going to paste that. Making sure that you don't have a space at the end. See, if I had spaces, I could do that at the end of my file. So I'm going to make sure that there's no space and that I can't highlight anything past the end. So go ahead and save this file, save it in your documents. I'm just doing that because I've already got it in there. I'm putting mine in a unique spot. So go ahead and save it as RSA and just click save. You can put it straight into your documents, or thumb drive, or anything that's secured that nobody else has access to. Maybe a home folder location on a server somewhere. Once you've got it saved, go ahead and close out the Notepad file. And putty is installed on all of these machines. The full MSI installer, not just the putty executable, the full putty suite of software. So click your magnifying glass in Windows on your taskbar, and see, half the people don't have their magnifying glass up. You're searching for putty keygen. Putty will only read a binary format. It won't read a ASCII text file. It's got to convert it into a compiled binary format for it to be passed into putty, just the way putty was coded to operate. So go ahead and launch putty keygen, and it comes up. So we got a key generator. What we're going to do conversions. We got to convert a plain text file into the key that putty can actually use. So So if you hit conversions, there's import key. You go browse that folder that you saved your key in. And click open. Once it loads, it'll show information about the key. Notice mine was 2048. My key was a lot shorter than y'all's. Okay, so now that we've got this generated, we've got to save the private key because we've already loaded the thing, so we need to save the private key. You want to save without a passphrase? Yes. It's not good. You should save with a passphrase. At this point, you could probably put a passphrase on it too. I'm going to go ahead and put like ID underscore RSA, or you could name it like what your virtual machine name was that you created. Or you do like maybe Azure ID RSA, so you know what it is. It's your ID to get into your virtual machines in Azure. All your virtual machines would use this key to get in. Spam text. So go and hit save. Notice the file extension is a PPK file extension. Private key files. So that's what putty can use. It can't use a text file. So keygen just converted that into a format that putty's designed to read. So go ahead and save. I've already got mine saved in another location, so I'm going to cancel out, but mine was already saved. So okay, that's pretty neat. Back in my portal screen. So once you've already saved, you can close everything. Somebody's group texting back to people. So our deployment's complete. Now you can click Go to Resource. Everybody see that? Go to Resource. So when we went to our resource, we can see our machine is up and running. We can see the public IP address. Everybody see the public IP address?
Yeah.
You can also configure a DNS name for your system too, but let's just do the public IP for now. So go ahead and copy the public IP address, then we can connect into our virtual machine. We kind of need to run updates on it because it's not updated. Maybe we can do that before the end of class. So click copy to clipboard. So that copies it to clipboard, and we're going to open up putty this time. We're going to have SSH. I'm going to, over here on the left side, I find connection, and underneath connection, I find SSH. I'm going to open up the SSH plus. I see authentication. And I see private key file for authentication. Everybody see that? So go and click Browse. And you're going to pick your RSA key.
The PPK one.
Yep, the PPK one. Not sure which one I'm supposed to pick. It's either going to work or fail. So I'm going to pick that one for mine. So that has to be chosen. The next thing, I'd scroll back up to the top where you have sessions and click on sessions again. I would paste your IP address, and then I would type in a name. We named it Security Linux, so I would click Save. Save Security Linux, that way you don't have to do those steps in the future. You can just load that. And I hope it's going to work. Go ahead and hit open. What happens when you hit open? Does it ask you for a username and password?
No.
Or a username? We may not have configured, there may be firewalled off. I thought we allowed it. Ah,
That's the line.
yes. Log in as the username that you used when you generated the virtual machine. Okay, I used MW Goodman. I told y'all that was something you'd have to remember. When you hit enter, Lucas probably had asked you the passphrase key file that you put in, but it should log you straight in. Okay, for those that got logged in, everybody got logged in, this is a CentOS machine, so it's a sudo yum update. And go and hit enter. And you should have to hit a yes at the end. And update everything. The Microsoft has pretty fast internet. Remember, you're connected to this running in the Microsoft Cloud, so look how fast it's downloading all of this. I don't know what speed their internet is,
Pretty good.
but I call that pretty fast.
Does that take 20, 30 minutes?
It says 17 meg a second, but it would have been faster because all those files were tiny. 757 different files I had to download, so that opened up and generate a new connection for every single file. That's why it was slow. So it continues to install everything. So we have a CentOS machine deployed using Azure, and I'll post this video that goes through all the steps. So if you have to do it again, it'll be on the video. But that's the best way, and I would put a passphrase if I was doing a production, so that I would have my private key. That's the most critical component, that nobody would be able to view the private key. It'd be encrypted. So once this cleans up, like I said, on Thursday we'll come back and we'll look at some of the stuff. We'll talk about how you can reset the passphrase, maybe get anybody that's having issues when we have to regenerate and redo everything on it. Yeah, mine's almost finished. When it gets done, I'll just exit out of putty. But that's the neat thing with putty and saving that key. If you got a laptop, or if you could create that, say that session on a thumb drive, you can launch it from anywhere. But you do have to have that key, and definitely passphrase protected. I think that'd be better. Joseph passphrase protected his, and now we can't get in, so I don't know what's up with that. But
mine don't work either. I created a new key.
Yeah, that's a little odd why that's not working. Something you might have to also check, make sure you don't have no older versions of putty installed on the system. I'm thinking it's a putty version issue, but I'm not for certain. We'll have to, we ran out of class time for troubleshooting that part.
So if we go home and do this and create a VM, even though for anything,